broadcasting live 4 days a week worldwide
from the sunny beaches of Southern California.
This is ExtremeHealthRadio.com.
G'day, this is Joe Cross from the movie Fat, Sick and Nearly Dead and from RebootWithJoe.com. I'm on Extreme Health Radio with Justin and Kate, and we are juicing up the world.
Increase brain health and improve focus, memory, clarity, and mood with BioAge Superfood. Get 10% off your order using coupon code JUSTIN at extremehealthradio.com/BioAge. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us here on another episode of Extreme Health Radio. We are not live. This is a special pre-recorded show that we're doing here, and it feels weird, doesn't it, Kate? A little bit strange.
I'm not used to this.
I know. We're used to having a live audience. This is strange.
Yeah, not having to man the chat room, which is kind of interesting.
I know, right?
But it's good because I can be a little more focused today.
Yeah, a little bit different, but different is good.
Different is great.
Yeah, so we are very excited. We're going to be talking with Inna Segal here today, and we're going to be talking about energy medicine, intuitive healing, and color therapy, and her books. Awesome stuff. So we're really excited. We're going to introduce her in just a moment. We are so excited to talk to her. This is episode 288, and at the time of this recording, it's Tuesday, July 15th?
Correct.
2014. And at the time that the show gets released will be the 25th of July. 28th on Monday, 28th. So we appreciate all you guys joining the show. And if you guys would like to join us, normally we are live. So we broadcast 4 days a week live, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific. So if you like, you can join the chat room and listen and catch the live show and interact with everybody, and you can talk to the other listeners and just have a party in the chat room.
It always is a party in the chat room.
It's always a party in the chat room.
I love it.
So you can do that at extremehealthradio.com/live. And if you guys would like to support our work, you can check out the BioAge that we just mentioned, or you can check out Amazon.com through our link, extremehealthradio.com/Amazon for any and all purchases, and we would really appreciate that. It's a great way to support our work, keep the show free for everybody else, so we really appreciate that. And today, this is episode 288, and we're with Inna Segal, all the way from my mother country.
It is your mother country.
My mother country. Many people don't know this, but I'm half Australian.
Yep.
So it's I feel
near
honored.
and dear to your heart.
So Inna Segal. So we originally heard about Inna Segal from Gaiam TV, right? We learned about her with her interview with Lisa Garr.
Such a great interview.
Yes, and we just thought, wow, this lady is doing some amazing work. We have to talk with her. So her website is innasegal.com, INNASEGAL.com, and you can sign up to her newsletter list, follow her on Facebook. She's got some great information on her website, innasegal.com. And she's the creator of the Visionary Institute of Healing and the award-winning best-selling author of The Secret Language of the Body, The Essential Guide to Health and Wellness, and The Secret Language of Color Cards, which we've been delving into for a while now. And she's an internationally recognized healer, professional speaker, author, and television presenter. And her latest book, The Secret Life of Wellness, The Essential Guide to Life...
The Secret of Life Wellness.
The Secret of Life Wellness, that's right.
I keep wanting to say that, too.
The Essential Guide to Life's Big Questions is now available. And have you been going through that, Kate?
Oh, I finished it.
Wow.
Yeah, and it takes me a while to go through books, so that shows how much I loved it. I blew through it in about a week and a half.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
I know, it's fresh on the brain.
I know, I love it. So, Inna, you are joining us today. Are you in Brisbane, Australia?
Actually, I'm in Melbourne right now. I'm going to Brisbane in 2 days again.
That's right. I saw on your Twitter feed that you are in Melbourne doing a series of lectures and talks and things.
Yeah, I am.
You're a busy woman.
You're a busy woman. So do you live up in Brisbane and then you're just down in Melbourne for a while?
No, actually, I live in Melbourne, but, well, I seem to live in Melbourne, but I travel so much. So I've been spending a bit of time in Queensland doing some things and working with on a couple of different projects there. And and otherwise I just travel around the world.
Wow.
And it's sunny because it's cold here. It's our winter, so it's sunny in Brisbane right now.
Oh, wow. Amazing. Yeah. Brisbane's always got good weather. I'm half Australian. I have family in Sydney near Manly Beach. We go there as often as we can. We love it.
Oh, yeah. Sydney has good weather as well.
Yeah.
Melbourne is, Melbourne changes every day.
You never know what to expect.
4 times a day.
So you were saying before we came on the air that you're going to be, at the time that this is released, I think it's on the 28th of July, you're going to be in China, is that right?
Japan?
No, Japan.
Japan. Yeah. Amazing. What are you going to be doing there?
I'll be doing a few workshops and a few... I'm going to like a Mind Body Spirit festival there as well, and my books just come out there. So, it's my first time there, so I'm very excited to experience such a different culture to probably anything else I've experienced so far.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so, what do you know what the reception is going to be like, or do you have any anticipation of how the Japanese will receive your work?
At the moment, I guess, I've had different people say things to me, but at the same time, I guess you never know until you're there and you are, and you're meeting the people, because in reality, every group is so different. It can be in the same country, but every experience is different. So I love that about the work that I do, that you never know what's going to come up. You never know who's going to be there or what you're going to discover.
Yes.
That's so cool.
I was just curious, Inna, do you have a favorite? Like, do you love writing more than anything in the world, or do you also like speaking and being parts of other conferences and things just as much?
I love teaching more than anything.
You do.
I love writing, but teaching, it's magical because you're when you write, you're by yourself. You're trying, I guess, opening up and exploring and, and trying to get, I guess, your passion or your ideas onto paper. And it's a great thing to do because I am so surrounded by people constantly that when I write, it's like everyone's out,
Yeah.
my own time. But teaching, it's such a beautiful dynamic because, there's so many discoveries. I'm always discovering something and sharing with people. And I feel that when I'm with other people, it's like things that I don't even know that I know come out.
Wow.
Wow. So it's other people sharing with you more, that you have these new epiphanies and kind of aha moments during speaking with them? Or is it things that just hit you when you're kind of, teaching and something just new comes to you?
I think when I'm teaching and when people ask questions, it's like something else, I guess, connects to me. So maybe it's something that was in me or in my energy field or in my aura even, but I didn't know until they asked me that question, that I knew. So it's like it almost awakens another exploration. And, and just to give an example of it, at the beginning of the year, I was doing a workshop where I talk about the shadow aspects and the inner child in particular, which is very powerful and important for us to understand because this is the part that drives you in your life. And so many people are acting things out from the inner child perspective rather than from their deeper wisdom. And it's not that the inner child doesn't have it. It's just that with the inner child aspect, this is often the hurt and the vulnerable part of us, as well as the innocent part, and the pure part. And it's really important to understand where something is coming from when you are communicating it or making decisions in particular. Mm-hmm. So I was explaining to people that we have different aspects of the inner child. And, some people said, well, how do I recognize, which one I have or which, or what the needs of that aspect of me are? And no one had ever asked that before. And so I was like, oh, that's true. So I started exploring, for instance, that if you have an abandoned inner child, that is the strongest one who's operating, you're always going to be afraid that somebody's going to leave you, and in yourself, you need to develop that confidence and that, and recognition that I'm lovable and I can connect with other people from the place of feeling that I'm already loving myself, instead of the needy place where they want to run away from me, and how am I treating other people, and I need to be treated in a sensitive way. Whereas I was saying to them, if you're an inner child that is more rebellious, then you don't need as much sensitivity. You thrive on rebelling against rules. So someone might say to you, you know what, you can't do this, and your whole demeanor changes, and you say, well, actually, no, I can, and you'll go for it. So knowing yourself can be very powerful. But again, until people ask me that question, I never thought about how would I explain it.
That makes sense.
Fascinating. And so how important do you think the inner child is with people? I suspect it comes up with a lot of people and how they subconsciously act, if they're going through their life and they have these problems or issues. I suspect it comes up a lot, but they don't see it or don't know it, right?
Yeah, the inner child, for me, at the beginning, it sounded so spiritual, that I kind of tried to ignore it for a while.
Yeah, it sounds kind of hokey.
Yeah, it does a little.
But then I realized that your inner child is in charge of your creativity. It's in charge of your, I guess how to understand it in the best way possible is that, everything that did happen to you in your childhood that was both beautiful and joyful, as well as very, very painful, is stored in the inner child. And from my exploration and my ability to tune in and see into people's bodies, the place where I've seen the inner child the most has been around the sacral chakra, which is, below their belly button. And this makes sense to me because this area is connected to our family, as well as our creativity. And, so whatever you have seen when you were growing up in your family will be stored in this archetypal energy. But at the same time, it's not just that. It's also, our vulnerability and our sensitivity. So even though, so we can, if somebody is judgmental to us, for instance, then we are going to react very often from that inner child perspective towards that person because, we're vulnerable. It's that vulnerable essence of us, it's the part that, can have a tantrum, but it's also a part of us, that is so innocent. And, what I've seen that often people's inner child will actually be in charge of their business and their money. And so what that means is that they'll operate and they'll spend money like they would if they were a child, without taking responsibility, because a child's role is not to take responsibility.
Right.
And, and also a child doesn't believe that he or she can make a huge income, or most, people's child, because that's not what they've been taught as a child, where we've been taught when we're children that we can have an allowance, but we can't have a salary, we can't have a big income. And when people have that child aspect in charge of their life and their finance, then they struggle and they can never make, enough money, or they, or one of my really good friends, he's a designer, and, he literally lost his whole business because his inner child was in charge, and he was, every time he had to do a show, every time he had to talk to someone and do an interview, his inner child hated it. And so, he would sabotage things, and, he also wanted to listen to everyone else. So he didn't trust his own intuition and his own guidance, and in the end lost his business and realized also that in a way that was the best thing for him, because he needed time out to really learn about himself and to work on that child. And once he did, everything changed.
Wow. So is that, so the inner child, is it sort of similar to a subconscious? Because I've heard this whole thing where people, you know, when they're children, they basically just download all the information that happens to them before they're, I think, 6 years old. And so it's getting stored maybe in the subconscious, and then they just act that out when they're adults?
Well, you know, in a way, yes, in the subconscious, but I think that most of us, you know, I think it's really helpful to actually recognize where not in the body could this be stored, because so often we're so used to the mind, you know, and even when we say the subconscious, we instantly think, oh, this is my mind, and it's somehow outside of me, you know, or in my brain. But I want people to recognize, you know, that what we really need to do is to become friends with our bodies, and to recognize that a lot of the patterns or energies are stored in the body. And it's one of the, you know, I used to do one-on-one sessions, which I don't do anymore at all. But when I did them, you know, people would come in and I would scan their bodies and actually and tell them exactly what was going on and where everything was stored. And they would be so impressed. You know, now I've decided to do that more in the workshops, just for a little bit of it, or in the talks that I do. And, you know, I did one a couple of days ago, and, you know, usually I would have an hour to really explain it and then to work with people, but now I don't. So I show people how within 30 seconds, you know, of connecting to them, I can pinpoint where, you know, what the, let's call it, subconscious issue is, you know, that they're trying to resist. And it's subconscious because we don't want to be conscious of it. We want to push it away. And the fact that that issue is not just in their mind, it's literally being manifested in a particular part of their body, you know, and sometimes a particular side of their body. So it was really funny that one of the women that I was tuning into a few days ago, I said to her, are you aware that the right and the left side of your body is completely different? And she just started laughing, you know, because she's like, I can't believe you just said that, you know. And then I said to her, well, your right shoulder actually looks like, you know, it's surrounded by rope, and a man or two men, actually, if I'm, you know, if I want to be precise, are pulling you back. And, you know, she couldn't believe it because she said, I've had pain in my right shoulder for so long. And, you know, the two people was her husband and her father. And I could recognize that both of their energies were quite similar in how she experienced them. You know, that's why at the beginning I was thinking, is it her father or her husband? You know, who am I, you know, who's really pulling at this energy? And when I was explaining to her, she understood. And this was actually one of the reasons I wrote my new book, The Secret of Life Wellness, because I wanted people to understand that, you know, you actually, whatever is going on in your life will be reflected in your body, and your body doesn't lie. And, you know, even if you think that you can hide it, you can't. And you know, you might lie to yourself, you know, you might disconnect from your body, you might not be conscious of what's going on in your whole being. But for someone like me who can tune in and see energy and see the physical body, you know, from inside out in a way, you can't lie, because I can pinpoint straight away within a minute, you know, what's going on with you and where it's coming from, you know, and, you know, and I would say to people, this is what you believe, you know, because your beliefs are not in your mind, they're, you know, all through your body, you know, and they get stored in different parts. So when I'm tuning into someone, I literally create a map, you know, and in that map, you know, I become conscious of the real belief, the deepest belief that the person has that is operating. And there was another lady, and, you know, with her it was her lower back, and I saw her family there, and the belief that came up that was so strong, you know, it almost hit me in my face, was that I'm I'm not lovable by my family. My family doesn't love me. And I feel like I think she would be in her 60s. She's lived her life based on this belief from when she was a baby.
And carried that throughout.
Her body is breaking down because of that.
Isn't that wild? That's so strange how beliefs can be stored as energetic blockages. We're with Inna Segal. Her website is innasegal.com, INNASEGAL. We're going to take a little break, but this is episode 288, and this is just fascinating stuff.
When we get back, I have a follow-up question to that.
Yeah, I've got a million questions, too. This is good stuff. innasegal.com. This is episode 288, and we'll be right back right after this break.
If you're taking 1, 2, 5, or more nutritional supplements, please stop. Simplify your supplementation with Bio Superfood, the most advanced whole food supplement you can buy. Men, women, children, and even Olympic athletes the world over have discovered Bio Superfood from BioAge.com. And now just take one nutritional supplement instead of many. The Bio Superfood formulas are whole food products composed of 4 of the most nutrient-dense algae found on Earth. Bio Superfood for the brain helps with focus, memory, clarity, and mood. And if you can increase brain health, the rest of the body is a no-brainer. Bio Superfood has 0 toxicity, is safe for you and your family, and it helps protect against radiation exposure. Learn more and order your Bio Superfood formulas at extremehealthradio.com/bioage or call 877-288-9116. Get 10% off your order using coupon code JUSTIN at extremehealthradio.com/bioage. BioAge, the age of advanced organics. I wanted to tell you about this really powerful and unique product called the Q Laser. Did you know there's over 2,500 peer-reviewed clinical research studies showing the benefits of low-level laser therapy on the body? We had Dr. Larry Lytle on episode 165 talking all about it. Dr. Lytle, what is the Q Laser?
The Q Laser is a light-delivering device, handheld, rechargeable, that is for lay people and professionals that works at the cell level of the body to restore energy. Since the body is all composed of cells and the cells are composed of atoms, it's good for any and everything in the body. It is especially beneficial for injuries. It will reduce swelling and inflammation before your eyes. Literally, you can have a sprained ankle and apply the laser, and within 30 minutes you can see that the swelling in the ankle has been reduced. Since all disease is inflammatory, you can assume that same process is working if you have some type of intestinal problem. We have pictures of using a heat instrument to diagnose the intestinal inflammation. We can show that intestinal inflammation is pretty much gone within 3 minutes using the Q1000 laser. It's the number one tool in your medicine cabinet. I have a saying, never leave home without your laser. I have had 3 serious burns, and each time I had my laser with me, I applied the laser immediately after I had the burn. I never even blistered.
Kate and I don't want to be without ours. We've worked out a special deal with Dr. Lytle for all of our listeners. If you'd like to learn more about how the Q Laser can dramatically improve your health, go to extremehealthradio.com/laser.
100% listener supported. Extreme Health Radio. Opening minds and transforming lives worldwide. Don't forget to join our thriving community for health tips, inspiration, and show updates at extremehealthradio.com/Facebook.
Well, this is a fun show. I'm really excited about this one.
Yeah. Oh, I couldn't hear you. There you are.
Oh, you couldn't hear me?
This is a great show.
Yeah, Inna Segal. Yeah, this is really, really fascinating stuff. If you guys have any questions about the BioAge Superfood, which we just love that stuff. We're on their spirulina, and all their capsules are just amazing. Or the Q Laser NG1000. You can ask us about that if you're interested, if you want to find out more. You can always check out that show page, too. We have lots of information on there. And we're with Inna Segal today. This is episode 288. And bring her back in just a moment. We're having a good time here. And Kate, I think you had a follow-up question to what she was saying about.
I do. First of all, I have to say I blew through your book, and I'm not a reader, so for me that's a very... You and Louise Hay are the ones I just couldn't get enough of. And I highly resonated with so much in your book. So before the break, you were saying, and I read in your book as well about your story and your journey, how you have that really amazing gift that I view as a gift, and I'm sure you would too, to kind of be able to see into people and read so many of their issues going on. Since most of us don't have that, what are some practical ways that everyone can ask their own body to reveal what's really going on inside with our health or our emotional state? And I'm sure those are closely connected. Are there any kind of tips you can give anyone?
Definitely. And I have to say, I actually believe that everyone does have it. They just, they've suppressed it, or, there's so much else going on that, they don't use it. It's kind of like we can all go to the gym, right? Mm-hmm. But some of us might believe that we can't, so to me, it's the same thing. So if I go to the gym for a year every day, I'm going to build some muscles, and I'm going to feel really good, and I'm going to be able to do things that I couldn't do a year ago. And it's the same. So, what it's natural. I really want for people to understand that it's natural to connect to your body. And not only is it natural, it's necessary, because if you don't, then you'll end up, with this disease or sickness, and you have no idea that it's even happening in your body until often, it has progressed quite a lot.
Sure.
So, what I say to people is, it's so much about understanding how to be in your body, and we start to awaken the body through movement. And that movement could be, you just put on your favorite song, for 5 minutes, and move and shake your body, or you jump on a trampoline for a few minutes, or you just go for a run or for a walk, or, anything you can do that's physical that awakens your body. And then once you've done that and you've awakened it a little bit, then you need to place your hands on a particular part of your body. Mm-hmm. And, and that could be on the part where you have pain or tension, or it could be on your heart or on your lung, around the lung area, around the chest area. And you start breathing slowly and deeply. And, the breath is the key in connecting to your body. It's the key in terms of starting to allow yourself to feel. And, for people who have difficulty to really feel things, you might say, I give myself permission to feel what is going on. And, and if you're feeling numbness, because I always say to people, numbness is a feeling. It's a feeling of saying, I don't want to feel something.
Isn't that wild? So why do you think so many people can't feel? Why do you think they're so disconnected from their symptoms and from their body and all these things?
Because they haven't been taught, and it hasn't been important to them. Because in our society, we're taught, if anything goes wrong in your body, it's not your responsibility. It's the responsibility of the doctor, So let's go to the doctor and, let them give us a pill that we can take. So, it's like we have forgotten that we can actually have an influence on our bodies. And so now, there are a lot of people, like you were mentioning, Louise Hay, and many other people who are talking about this, but we need to do more than just talk about it, and talking about it is great because it changes our consciousness, but then we need to actually start touching the body and loving the body and, and getting connected to the body. And, it's really interesting because my partner, he has this practice that he does every morning. And every morning he gets up, and he says how great it is to be him. And, and then he starts kind of touching, connecting to his body and even, and talking to his body. And he'll say, my digestive system is now starting to work and digest all my food. And, and he'll connect to his heart and say, I'm so open to feeling as much love as I possibly can in my life. And, and he does it every day. Sometimes if he doesn't have a lot of time, he might do it for 10 minutes. Sometimes he'll do it for half an hour.
So he does this in the morning kind of thing, do you think?
Yeah, every morning. It's, and then he combines Qigong with it, and then he combines color healing with it, and then he combines, because I talk a lot about the nervous system. So he combines expanding the nervous system, and working on receiving. And so it's a combination of many different things. But the first time, when he showed it to me, I was like, wow, that's amazing, because, and he'll touch his body and say, I love this body, I'm so grateful for this body. I'm so grateful for how well this body works, and I've noticed again, like, that the more he's been doing it, the healthier he is, the more energy he has, the more he's able to handle things in his life, because he combines, things that I've taught with things that he knows.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a great thing, to do. And he's an actor as well. And I will say to him, at times, we'll be doing stuff and I'm like, you're in your head. And I'll be like, you need to get into your body. And he makes fun of me. He's like, I need to get into my body, because I'm always saying it to him, like, and I'll say to him, you can't lie to me. I always know if you're in your body.
That's funny. Yeah, there seems to be some sort of energetic transference of energy or something going on when you utter words to your body. A good time that I've done it before is when you're skin brushing. I find that to be a good time to do that.
Yeah, it could be in the shower, it could be any time. It's just, the idea is that we actually, there is touch, right? Mm-hmm. And the touch, what it does is that it literally, activates your brain and your nervous system and focuses the energy and focuses your intention. So when you're touching a particular part of your body and you're breathing into it, and then what I say to people is that you can start, if you want to understand what is actually stored in your body, then you ask questions, and again, it needs to be the right types of questions, and the questions could be, what beliefs do I have about this, or what thoughts are stored in this part of my body, and you take your time to allow that belief or that thought to come up. And then as you recognize it, and the body and healing really works on recognition. So when you acknowledge something, when you recognize it, there's freedom in it, and so your body can start to let go of that tension, But if you suppress it or hide it, then your body and your muscle, especially your muscular system, has to hold on, and then what it does is that it starts to send that information through your bloodstream and often through your digestive system as well. So even if you're having food, and we already all know how toxic so much of the food is, but let's say even if we have organic food, we can't fully take the nutrients in because there is inflammation in the body and there's a blockage, and that inflammation is really about you not acknowledging what's really going on and trying to suppress it.
So if you had like a digestive issue, like maybe IBS or Crohn's, or maybe just indigestion or something, would a good time to do that be maybe when you do a meditation, sit and be quiet and just ask yourself, what kinds of questions would you ask yourself?
So, you ask yourself, if there was a thought or a belief or several beliefs that are connected to what I think about my life or my body, what would it be? And then you write them down, let's say, and then you might say, if there was feelings that were stored in this part of my body, what would they be, or a feeling in particular, and where is this feeling coming from? Is it coming from the present, or is it coming from the past, or is it actually a feeling that my mom had that has nothing to do with me, but I took it on because I wanted to help her. And so you acknowledge it, and then you might go, and if there was an experience or a memory that was connected to this, what would it be?
Interesting.
And is this memory something like the point of view that I have on this memory? Because so much of our stuckness internally is about a point of view that we took on. So if we ask ourselves, is this a positive point of view? This perspective that I'm holding on to, is this helping me? Is this serving me? Or can I let it go? Can I see another point of view? Can I put myself into the perspective of the person that I'm judging and being upset with right now.
Mm-hmm.
And what would that look like from their perspective, you know? And as you let go of your stance and your perspective, it's like your whole body starts to release, you know, and then, you know, you can work with color and energy and you know, and self-love.
So fascinating. Okay, I think you had a question about this past generation stuff.
Yeah, I know you talked in your book a lot about ancestral energies and memories being stored and how that can play into illness. What would you suggest for people to free themselves and unabsorb, so to speak, some of this multi-generational pain to become more free? I mean, are there practical things we can do to free ourselves from that?
There are, and there's many of them, you know, and I teach them in lots of different workshops. But, you know, one of the, I guess I'm trying to think of it in a simpler way.
Sure.
So one of the things that I've done with people, for instance, is to, like, let's say to imagine that in front of them it's like they're standing on their genetic line, right? And then, you know, they start, let's say, with themselves, you know, and then they might step back, you know, and they take one step back, and as they step back, they step into, let's say, it's the feminine line, into their mother line, into the experience of their mother. So it's almost like they're stepping into, well, what did my mom feel about, let's say, a particular issue, and what was it like to be her, and what beliefs did I take on from her that are not actually mine? And then what I will say to people is, I want you to physically imagine that you can take that energy out from your body. So you literally, you know, let's say you feel it in your heart, and you'll take it with your hand, you know, and then you'll imagine that this is an energy that you don't need anymore, and you can get rid of it by putting it into the purple fire. But you've acknowledged it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like you'll take off all of those energies that are not yours as you recognize them. Or you might just say, I'm willing to let this go. Or you might say that and use one of the processes, let's say from my book, The Secret Language of Your Body, on emotions, you know, so it might be rejection. This is not my rejection, this is her. And you'll say, divine intelligence, please help me to release it, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so you can do it in so many different ways, or you can use EFT or whatever you know that you can use, but you're doing it from the perspective of feeling what it felt like, you know, to be, you know, like your mother, and what limitations did she have, and how was she judged, and in that you're developing compassion and you're developing love, you know, and then you might step back further into your grandmother or your grandfather and feel, how did they feel, and you know, what made them who they became, because once you understand that, you can let it go, and you can recognize it, you know, and you can recognize, let's say with me, my experience was that I had this fear that I'll end up on the street, you know, and I didn't know where it was coming from, because nothing in my environment would show or suggest that.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized later that my grandparents, both of my grandmother lived, you know, her whole family was killed when she was 13. And then she lived for 4 years in the forest on her own, so just trying to survive. And it was, I guess, a miracle that she survived.
Oh, my gosh.
And she had 6 brothers and sisters who were all killed, and her mom was shot in front of her. So it was very traumatic, you know. But then she wasn't allowed to talk about it for 50 years.
Why so?
Because in Russia, because I was born in Russia, and in Russia at that time, you know, if you talked about it, even if you've survived, you could be killed, you know, or you could be thrown into jail, because there was such fear there and control. So she wasn't, you know, and I think she was also so traumatized that it was very difficult to talk about it, and all of that was stored in her body, but then was passed on to my mom, and then was passed on to me. And, you know, I was the first person that really recognized it, and also realized, because I was talking to my cousin and she said the same thing. She's like, I'm really afraid that I'm going to end up on the street. And I said, well, that's interesting because it's not coming from us.
Huh.
Yeah, it's like
You
deep
know.
within your family.
Yeah, I remember that in your book. It was really fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's running from somewhere deeper than just you making up a story or remembering something from your own childhood. I mean,
Yeah, she's
that
really
runs deep.
interesting stuff. We're going to take a little break with Inna Segal, and I want to, when we come back, I find it very interesting that this kind of information can transmute from generations, because it makes sense that, you know, if we learned a certain pattern in the home of our parents, that we would pick up those subtle subconscious patterns and thought processes. But when they go back a generation, even beyond our parents,
Grandparents,
when we weren't even
great-grandparents.
around.
I know.
And so I want to ask about that when we
wild.
get back. Really fascinating stuff. Her website, if you're interested in her work, you should check it out. I highly recommend it. INNASEGAL, InnaSegal.com. Check that out. It's really great stuff. So we'll be right back. This is episode 288, and we'll be right back after this break.
I have been absolutely loving this product by Tristan Truscott and Peter Ragnar called Good Morning, Good Evening Qigong. If you want to listen to the interview we did with Tristan, you can go to extremehealthradio.com/127. And Qigong is a great way to de-stress the body. And as you know, there's a huge component to disease caused by stress. And stress is a huge factor in how we live our lives and the amount of energy we have and the amount of vitality we have. And so, Dr. Shade, what do you think about Qigong?
People come to me and they're really sick and they got this blown out neurological system and all this toxicity. And I tell them, you need to do Qigong, Tai Chi. You need to do these things that settle down and restore your neurology, because it puts together all the parts. It puts you back into that state where you can start to detoxify. And so I highly, highly recommend all that.
And what about you, Kit Campbell? What do you think about Qigong? Do you like it as well?
Qigong is amazing. And the reason that I believe it to be amazing is everything here is energy. That is a scientific fact, if there ever is one. So when you're practicing Qigong, you're actually drawing energy into your body. Your intention, whatever your intention is behind any action, will determine the level of energy, type of energy that you absorb into your body. So your intention behind is very important, just like thought. So when you're practicing Qigong, you're actually bringing energy in and you're bringing out the stuff that might be a bit stale. With Tai Chi, it's totally different. The energy runs underneath the skin because it's more of a martial. This is the Chinese understanding, by the way. It's more of a martial art. So Qigong is very, very good for bringing that energy into the body, and just fantastic.
If you're interested in picking up this Qigong course by Tristan Truscott and Peter Ragnar, go to extremehealthradio.com/Qigong. That's QIGONG. And you can learn more about it. There's a great video on that page, and you can learn more about it on that page. And I highly, highly recommend this product. I love it myself. So go ahead and check that out. extremehealthradio.com/Qigong. Hey guys, if you've been following our work for any length of time, you know that I'm a big fan of raw food. I did a raw food diet actually from 2003 to 2010, 100%, and I loved it. And raw food is a huge part of my diet, and I just love it. And if you're interested in making healthy, really amazing raw food dishes without spending hours and hours in the kitchen, I would highly recommend checking out a program put together by Russell James called the Raw Chef Program. You could check it out at extremehealthradio.com/raw chef. And I have to say, it's absolutely incredible. I have it, and it's got hundreds of hours of video, professionally done video, along with workbooks and PDF files. And he walks you through how to make the most amazing, delicious raw food meals that don't take forever. Everything from mock pizzas and pasta to ice cream to cheese to fluffy bread, if you can imagine it. It's incredible. So I highly recommend you checking it out. It's you can check it out at extremehealthradio.com/raw chef. And I think you are absolutely going to love this program. So check it out now.
Free. All free shows, all the time on Extreme Health Radio. Opening minds and transforming lives worldwide. Join our community today. Sign up to our email list and instantly get our free gift to you, along with loads of inspirational content and cutting-edge tips to help change your life at extremehealthradio.com/subscribe.
Well, Kate, I have to say I'm thoroughly intrigued here listening to Inna Segal talk about all this information.
I know.
We're really fascinated by the whole idea that, some of these patterns that we have that we act out on a daily basis, these...
Or irrational fears. I mean... Irrational
fears, subconscious behavior that we don't even know could be something that originated 2 or 3 generations past, but somehow we have it.
Maybe farther. I don't know.
Fascinating.
Wonder if Inna knows.
Yeah, we're going to ask about that. If you guys have any questions about those 2 products that we just ran ads for, the Qigong program, just love that program by Tristan Truscott and Peter Ragnar, as well as the Raw Chef. Raw Chef has some really great products. They have the a cultured fermentation course going on, as well as a raw chocolate course too. That I highly recommend that. Really great stuff. So check those out if you're interested in supporting the show and want some really great information on how to do, make raw food and do some Qigong, which we do every day. So check those out. And this is episode 288. We're with Inna Segal, all the way from Melbourne, Australia. Isn't the internet and today's world, it's just amazing.
I know, right?
I love it. So, I want to get to some color therapy because we have your cards and we love them. But before we get to that, I'm really curious about this whole idea that maybe parts of our personality, our subconscious mind, behavior, thoughts, and all that could be somehow connected to generations, 3-4 generations in the past. It's pretty just crazy, isn't it?
Well, it is, and that's why I would say to people, it's not just, things are not just coming from the obvious. It's not just what your eyes see or what you can hear. It's deceptive, and, we are a product of our family as well as our diet, as you said, our thoughts, our feelings, our environment, and when you start to become aware that there is a pattern, that has gone through generations, let's say in your family, then there's a high likelihood that you're going to have it, and this is what people actually, when people talk about DNA, that's what they're really talking about. They're talking about the fact that, let's say, your great-great-great-grandfather, got really angry one day, and he didn't know how to deal with that anger. So the anger kind of imploded within his body. So he developed, let's say, arthritis or inflammation in his knee. Let's say that.
Okay.
Then that, when let's say his son was born, let's say he's a son, whatever he had created through his inability to deal with his emotions or his environment is going to be passed down to his son in some way. So his son's body is going to absorb that in some way. But maybe his son has a weakness in his left toe. So that energy of that inflammation, of that aggression, let's say, will go into his toe. And then his daughter is going to be born, and maybe he had some sadness in his life and he stored it in his kidneys, but when she's born, her kidneys are pretty strong, but her lungs are weak, because everybody's born with some kind of weakness in their body,
Okay.
So her body will, because the body's intelligent, will say, well, you know what, it's going to serve you more if we take that energy, that inflammation, and we'll put it into your lungs. But we'll only we'll have it there, but it's not going to be activated straight away. It will be activated based on your environment. So let's say she lives her life in a beautiful, loving environment. It never gets activated. So she has it, and this is actually the study of epidemiology, I think.
Oh, epigenetics, yeah.
Epigenetics, sorry.
Yeah.
So she doesn't get it activated, but let's say she's got a sister, and her sister also has the same thing, but she's in a stressful environment, and now she has asthma because both of them had the potential in their genes, because of what has happened in the past. but one has it activated, the other one doesn't. Environment.
It's a wild concept to think about. Something could be passed down, like you said, in this particular scenario, perhaps like the kidney. When that energy, goes to the child, because they have strong kidneys, it'll actually find
another area
in the body to make weak. That's so interesting.
And it will stay there until your environment will either activate it or not. That's why, we all have the potential to have cancer or whatever else, but some people activate it, and other people will eat organic food and they will work on their body and they will exercise and they will love their body and they will never have it activated.
What's wild too is it's a concept to think about, what stores in my body, what have I downloaded from generations past, what kinds of things do I have in my body? But then it's also another thing to go a step further and look at your life and think, okay, what am I going to pass on to the next few generations? So in the next few generations from now, am I going to be passing on the healthiest genes possible so that, 4 generations down the line, they don't have some sort of health issue in their body because as a result of something I do in my life today.
And educating your children.
Yeah. Wow. I guess that's possible.
And I think that when we deal with that in ourselves, we actually clean it up for our children. And I have very specific processes that I teach in my visionary intuitive healing workshops, where people can clear it, for generations and energetically and emotionally. And, what I'm finding, and then, like I said, educating your children. And like with my son, for instance, he's 14, almost 14. And, he's been eating very unhealthy food for a long time. And now, lately, my partner and I have been explaining things to him in a different way. And finally, he got it. And yesterday he said to me, he was really hungry at night. And I was like, honey, I got to go to bed. I'm not going to, order something. He said, Mommy, I'm not going to order anything anymore. One, it's a waste of money. And 2, it's unhealthy. I only want to eat organic food.
Oh my gosh. How old is he?
14.
That's great.
13 and a half. Yeah.
That is so great.
So obviously there's some changes coming down the line right there, huh?
So it's very, and he told me I haven't had chocolate for days.
Oh.
Wow, for a 14-year-old, that's pretty darn impressive. I like that. So, Kate, you wanted to get into some color therapy, right?
Oh, Inna, man, your color cards are pretty intense. Like, I hadn't done much study in color therapy, but I've been reading your 2 books and been kind of experimenting around with the deck, and I have to say it's been quite a journey for me. I've decided that one of the things this year I was going to do was set an intention for the day in the morning with picking a card and putting it on in front of my workspace, and just I'm sure you've heard this a lot, but what happens with me is I'll shuffle them and ask the right question with the right intention, what I feel is the intention to say what is it I need today, what is it I need to get for healing, or what do I need to know, or whatever, and I'll pick a card, and more often than not, it's the same exact card for sometimes a week in a row. And then, when I feel like I've kind of maybe learned that lesson or kind of got that message, it will start to change. But they seem to come in these patterns where, like right now, I have watermelon. It's been watermelon for 3 days, no matter how much I shuffle that deck. Do you hear this really often with people?
I do, and I think, again, it's beautiful because there's an intelligence in this universe, and it also, and everything is resonating, right?
Right.
So when you touch the deck, and you put your energy and your intention into it, it almost connects to your, to your inner wisdom, and it says, yes, you need to look at this card, or you need more fun in your life, and you need to work on your inner child, or you need to play. Or you need to concentrate on your healing, and it's just a reminder for us also because we live in that kind of instant, and we want everything instant, and healing and a life of wellness. And this is what I'm saying to people all the time now: is a daily experience, and it's definitely not just when you're being watched or trying to impress someone else.
Mm-hmm.
It's a daily thing of how do I live my life from morning till night?
Yeah.
You know, what am I doing through the day? And, you know, and sometimes we'll get the same color or the same card because we think we've worked on it, you know, or we think we've owned it, or we think we've understood something, but we haven't actually,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or we haven't completed the process and we just want to jump to the next thing. And the idea is, you know, real connection and breath and patience and going, you know what, no, I think I've worked on this, but I haven't, you know, or I have maybe 5%, or I have 10%, and now I want to work on it more. You know, I want to really, you know, embrace that whatever energy is coming up.
Yeah, I have to say, in my own experience, it's been very powerful, especially with this watermelon card, because, like you said, it's the whole point of it is to encourage yourself to have fun with your inner child. And I read that for a few days in a row and kept thinking, okay, I have enough fun, I laugh enough, I do this, I do that. But today I sat with it and said, if I took myself back to being that little child, like you mentioned in the color book, about, you know, what would your inner child want to do? Is it to go play a ball, or, you know, play the ball at the park, or to go get an ice cream? What is it that little child inside all of us would need? And I found myself asking, what is it to even have fun? Like at an elementary level, it took it to a new question today where I go, what is it to actually have fun, and why is that important? So clearly I'm not done with that card, because, you know, it brings up a new question in the last 5 days I've had it, and I'm obviously still having it for a reason. But is there a right, am I picking cards right, or is there a right or a wrong way to pick cards or to add this color into our lives?
I don't think there's a right or wrong way. You know, there's so many ways, you know, to explore it. And, you know, you can pick 3 cards, you can pick 1 card, you can, you know, you can focus on a question where you can pick 6 cards to give you an understanding of 2 options.
Mm.
Uh-huh.
You know, you can pick a card and put it on your body,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and work with energy or with the chakras, and, you know, or exactly how you've been doing. You can pick a card and feel and go, I'm going to wear this color today against my skin, you know, or I'm going to, you know, look at what is that, let's say, like your card, watermelon card, what does that represent? And
Mm-hmm.
every day, because you're different each day, it's going to represent something different. So, like your question, it's so powerful, you know, what is fun, you know. And for me, last week I had a similar one where I was, you know, working on more love towards my inner child, and I said to her, to that part of me, what has been fun for you? And I got several memories of when I was 6 years old or 7 years old, and I was with a skipping rope and I was playing with my friends, and, you know, and even in that visualization kind of imaginary state, I let myself do that for about 5 minutes, you know, and then I felt so happy.
Mm.
And it was like this sense of joyfulness. And then my partner, one of the things that he did, which I thought was really impressive, I have to say, I was in Mexico, actually, I was traveling, and he sent me an email, a letter, and the letter was from his inner child to my inner child.
Oh.
You know, literally, like, as if he wrote, literally writing from that little boy aspect of himself to me. And it was based on an old photo that I texted him that I'd found of myself. And then he sent me a photo of himself when he was a child. And he was kind of saying, you know, he literally used that photo, and he said, to the little, you know, sweet, beautiful girl on a swing, because I was on a swing in the photo.
Oh.
I want to tell you this, and that we're going to play together, and we're going to do this, and, you know, and it was so touching because I thought this is really creative. When I read it, I had to read it 5 times. You know, you know, so it's being creative, because I remember thinking, I've never thought of that, you know, that someone could write you a letter from their inner child to yours, and it was exactly what I needed to hear and what that part of me needed to hear and read, you know?
It's really interesting. I love that idea of going back and
really tapping into that, because I think as adults we get so caught up in bills and work and responsibilities and goals and daily disciplines and all this stuff. We forget to have fun and forget to be, we forget to have that feeling like we used to when we were a little child, where it's just carefree, running throughout the streets, the neighborhood all day long. We just lose touch of that, and I think it would do us a lot of good to somehow reconnect with that part of us,
Definitely. It just makes you actually attract so many more opportunities into your life, because you're coming from a place of joy.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you hear very often that people say it's easier to have compassion on viewing other people as a small child than it is for themselves to view their own inner child?
Yeah, it's definitely easier. It's always easier to look at someone else, and be giving and loving to them, but to love yourself, it's, again, I wrote that in The Secret of Life Wellness, and because it's a lifelong journey, it's almost like it takes maybe a few minutes to understand and agree, it's true, we need to love ourselves, but it takes a whole life to really master, because you can't just say, well, I've mastered it, because I was loving to myself today. But, the same way as you were talking about the card, it's like every day that you would be connecting to yourself, you would love yourself differently.
Yeah.
You would have a different feeling. Some days you might not have much of a feeling, and you're just doing it, and you might be looking in the mirror and saying, yeah, I love myself, even if I don't feel like it.
Right.
Yeah.
And another day, you might really be feeling it because that's your focus. You might, a few days ago, I feel it when I teach, because I love doing that. And I really felt it. I remember I was being driven back home, and I really felt that feeling, and it was deeper than I'd ever felt it before. And it was just a soft feeling of self-love, and as if there was this light inside my belly, and I was like, this is really cool. I'm feeling that, but it doesn't mean that I feel it every day. And the next day might be, okay, how do I love myself today? And how do I take it each day to another level? Because the more you are loving to yourself, the more you shine, and the more you're willing to receive, and the more you think, I'm worthy of great things in my life. So it doesn't come from the egotistical point of view, but it comes from that real sense of, if I'm loving to myself, then I'm going to be more loving to my children. Then how I'm going to treat other people is going to be a lot more caring and loving and open and soft.
Yeah. So it sort of builds upon itself, right? The more you do it, the more you attract people or circumstances in your life that are better, then you feel good, and then you want to keep doing it, so you keep doing it, and it kind of can change your life little by little, bit by bit each day, by just building on itself, right?
And you're healthier because you're not creating conflict in your body, you're not beating yourself up, you're not, a lot of people, what they do is that they find, because they don't feel they're worthy, or they don't feel loved or lovable, what they end up doing is self-punishment, and that self-punishment often looks like eating very unhealthy food, it looks like not exercising, it looks like creating dramas and situations in your life that are constantly putting your attention on what you don't want.
Depression.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Your work is really fascinating to me because I've said this on the show many different times that, we're all about health and diet and nutrition and all that stuff. But, I think eventually if you keep following the path of health and nutrition, juicing and these types of things and bringing those enzymes into your diet and bloodstream and things, I think if you keep going down that path, it eventually leads you to energetic medicine, learning how to connect with the type of work that you're doing. It eventually leads you to the much deeper issues, because you could be the healthiest eater on the planet, right? And eat juices all day or whatever. Super clean and do colonics. But if you're beating yourself up, if you're living in a depressed state, that's going to undermine all the good things you're doing, won't it, with the juicing and things?
Definitely. And, and it's also the other way around. If you do a lot of energetic work, then you end up eventually going into juicing and organic food and so on. And, I just want to say on that subject, one of the big things, is that as you keep connecting, and I a few weeks ago, I actually went and had colonics done with this woman who was amazing. And she said to me something that I hadn't really thought about at all, really.
I saw this on your Facebook page.
Yeah, you saw it on my Facebook, Yeah. And what she was saying to me was that, how much nurturing, for instance, women needed from other women. And it was, and she said to me, like, you do that all the time to other people, but you don't allow it. And I just sat there and, I was lying there actually, and I was like, wow. And I cried when she said that, because it was so true. Because, we talk about nurturing ourselves or loving ourselves, and we talk about it with our partners, but I never really thought about the importance of it from one woman to another woman, or with men, like where they need it from other men. And it's the same as, my partner, and he said to me many times, he's like, you can teach men certain things, but you can't teach men how to be how to be a man, because you're not a man.
Right.
And the fact that we need, our life can be so enriched if we are in that constant process of discovery, rather than thinking, I know how it is because, let's say, about diet, or about exercise. We don't know what we don't know, and we don't know a lot of things. We might know something in one area, a little bit of it, but I feel that people would not get depressed if they were in the place of constant self-discovery and understanding, even the fact that when the body is releasing something, right, when it's detoxing, you may not feel so good, and you may get a bit of a cold, or, or symptoms of that, or you might, get headaches, so you might get all sorts of things. And often when people get that, they freak out and they're like, oh my God, what's happening to me? I'm meant to be healthy, instead of understanding your body's way of cleansing, or even if you have an emotional release, is to find that inflammation, to find those toxins, and then the only way that it can get out is where you might not be feeling so good, because for a little short period of time, because you're discovering a new way, right? And all the tension that has been there all of a sudden needs to be washed away. And in that washing away stage, you just need to be more gentle, and you need to rest, and you need to allow your body to go through that process of that cleansing that needs to happen. But you're not sick, so you don't need to take things. You just, except, maybe supportive things, nourishing things, or you might even need to fast for a little bit, and let your body and let yourself discover. Because again, when we juice, or when we eat healthier, we can't not feel things, right? We discover, because sugar, and I'm sure you know this even more than I do, sugary, anything that's sugary or anything that's toxic is going to block you from feeling.
Right.
So when you're doing that whole cleanse and you stop eating all the sugary stuff and you start to eat more raw, you have the potential to really access the cellular memories and those, and it's not just that, we've talked more on the kind of healing aspect, but your intuition, your ability to attract people or circumstances, your ability to have guidance, your ability to have incredible spiritual experiences open up.
Yeah, it's interesting how this whole thing comes full circle with diet and being able to connect to your body and to be able to listen to your body, and then also coming and doing the energetic, powerful healing techniques that you talk about. It sort of all comes together because, being able to listen to your body is a big deal, and it takes a lot of people, perhaps sometimes a lot of cleansing like colonics or juice fasts or, enemas or things like that. But then once you can start feeling your body, you can start feeling, like you're saying, intuition more, and you start attracting different things. It's really
so intertwined.
Yeah, so intertwined, isn't it?
Well, I think that's the whole point of wholeness, really, that we don't think it's one or the other, that it's everything, and this is why life is so extraordinary, that it's like I have a lot of friends who are designers, and some people can say, well, that's superficial. And I'm like, it's not superficial at all, because, when you feel good, you want to look good, and you want to, let's say, wear things that are a different type of quality, and that make you feel even better, and then other people will reflect it back to you and tell you that you look good, so you feel, and so your confidence increases, and when your confidence increases, then you're capable of much more, and you're healthier. So everything is connected.
Yeah.
It's like nothing is really superficial if you are coming towards it from that perspective of, I want to operate at my absolute best, at 100% of who I am.
Mm-hmm. Interesting stuff. And on your website, you have all your books, The Secret Language of Your Body, as well as The Secret of Life Wellness. There's MP3s and CDs, DVDs on your shop and everything. But I had a question about the e-course there, the 8-week course to help create perfect health. What is that? Can you tell us a little bit about what that is?
Well, because I teach so many workshops, I decided, that I can't, I need to have variety for my own growth. And Secret Language of Your Body was a workshop that I've taught for a really long time. And, I just felt like there were so many people in so many countries that could not get to it, but would be able to do something at home, and and to have it for 8 weeks would allow you to concentrate each week on a particular system of your body or a particular aspect. So I broke it down into 8 weeks, and so each week is about, let's start with maybe focusing on waking the body up and what that looks like. So I show people that process, and that connection and the touch. And so for that whole week, and I explain this is what you need to do. So they're working on it. And then the next week might be about the mind, and using deleting process, deleting negativity. And so they combine now waking the body up with actually doing, working with their mind. And the next week might be working on emotions and, all the different ways and techniques that you can work on that with. But this is your predominant focus. And then as you're doing that, you might also work on your heart, on your nervous system, And so the idea is that each week builds on the week before, and then by the end of 8 weeks, what you need to concentrate on the most, and you start to understand how you combine different processes together to create the best results. And so on the 8th week, you actually create a system for yourself that then you continue to practice, because now, you've taken it into your whole being. It's becoming part of who you are.
Yeah.
And as you practice it, you just, it's natural. You want to. It's like that. There is no day that goes by that I'm not practicing something, that I teach people. That might be like today in the morning before speaking to you, I was doing a meditation from my audio, which is Create Perfect Health. And I put in a lot of audio in that course as well. And this one is about going through all the systems of your body and loving your body, But another day, I might do the same process like Qigong with my partner. And another day, I might just do some, like work on my emotions. And another day, I will read and connect to, to loving myself and or work on the beauty aspect, to own that, or anything, so every day it's like there is a new discovery, but the idea is that there is no day that goes by that you're not connecting to your whole being and, and not improving yourself. So I'm always saying to people, as you go along in your life, you can either degenerate or regenerate. There's only two ways of doing that. You never stay the same. So and my belief system is that as you get older, you should get healthier and you should get better, because as you're getting older, you should be wiser.
Yeah, be able to work through more, probably.
Yeah, you're more better able to work on yourself and
when
to
you have
build
the building blocks.
Yeah, if you're doing the practices.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow, very cool. So the e-course, are there videos available in that as well?
Yeah, there's videos and there's a lot of audio there, and and there's explanations of how to do things, how to combine, and what to do. So it's
Gosh, this seems like it would be a great course for people that maybe went through a tumultuous childhood and maybe are acting out some processes in their lives, subconscious things, and are dealing with things. It seems like it would be a great course to get to the root cause of a lot of those things.
Well, I think it's for anyone who really wants to wants to improve their health, understand the messages that their body's giving them, and wants to create a practice. So it could be people who are unwell, but it can also be people who really want that connection with their bodies and want to do it over a period of time.
I love it. Wow. Well, thank you so much, Inna, for being on the show. We're so excited and so honored to have you on. We saw you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Hang on the line really quickly. We're just going to close out the show here. I just want to let everyone know this is episode 288, and if you want to check out any of the show notes that we talked about during today's show, you can check out extremehealthradio.com/288. And please share this show with your friends if you're interested, if you like this type of information. And if you guys would like to support Inna or I or us, you could always go to our website, extremehealthradio.com or innasegal.com, and look for all the different ways you can support us. So we really appreciate all of you guys being on the show. So thank you so much.
Thank you for taking so much time out. We know you're so crazy with your schedule and your kids, and it sounds like you have so much going on.
Yeah, thanks for taking a little bit extra time. We appreciate that.
Thank you. I really enjoed it.
We did
thanks,
too.
Inna.
We'll
Talk to
be
you
in
soon.
touch.
Great. Thanks.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, there you go. Another episode. That was pretty fun, wasn't it?
Well, it was really fun. Before the recording started, when we had Inna on the line, I told her I felt like I was talking to a rock star. I mean, I love her books. I've watched so many of her interviews on TV, and that one with Lisa Gar on Gaiam, and I just really enjoy her. I've been on her site a lot of times, and just it's really fun when you get to meet these people.
I know, isn't it?
Even not meeting in person, but just there's something about her spirit that is just so beautiful, and I feel like
it was weird seeing that interview with Lisa Gar on Gaiam TV. It was like we both just instantly connected with her work and the way she presented the information. We thought, wow, we have to interview her.
And that's what happened. The minute we both finished that thing, we said, let's get her on if we can. I mean, she's just, I feel like she's a perfect person to talk on our show.
You know what we didn't even do in that show is we didn't even ask her about her history, because she has a history of digestive disorders. I mean, I tell you, we interview all these people. They're so interesting. And we could literally talk to them for 7 days, for 5 days, for 7 hours. I mean, it's just, there's so much to get to. We didn't even get into her story, but you've been reading her book, right?
Oh, I blew through it, but I keep going through it.
What was the part of her story? Because I don't recall too much from the interview with Lisa Gar.
Well, yeah, she did. I mean, I'm not going to say it perfectly, but basically she had digestive issues and back problems, and nobody really knew what to do with her. A chiropractor basically said she was bent over in agony, crying out on the way to the chiropractor.
That's right. She had a really crazy
bad
story. Huh?
And then when she got there, he said, I can't do anything for you. Basically, you need to go home. And she's like, what? And so she returned home, and that's when her self-healing process started, because I mean, like, it kind of I think I resonated with it so much because it reminds me of myself, where if you have this, quote, strange thing going on, but there's not really a name for it, or you can't really, she had what is it called? Is it psoriasis?
Psoriasis.
Super bad, covering parts of her body, and she just had all these strange illnesses and diseases and things that she didn't really know what to do with. So I think that's how I felt really connected during that book and that interview when I...
Did her siblings have any of those? Or did she have siblings?
Not that I know of, no. So that's where her journey of,
So the doctors basically said we
self-healing
can't do
began.
anything for you. And what precipitated the lower back problems?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I really don't remember.
Yeah, I feel like it was, I forget what it was on the show with Lisa Garr, but
Yeah.
I feel like it was an accident or something. But yeah, and then
I wish I forget.
And then she was with a friend, wasn't she? And she looked and she saw above some sort of aura or image.
A cartoon image of a liver.
Above her friend, right?
Yeah, and I remember her saying on the interview with Lisa Garr she didn't know that it was a liver until she saw the word liver light up.
Liver. It's like flashing.
And that was her first experience. She'd had I don't know if that was her first or second with it. And she also really went, I think that was the first actually. Mm-hmm. And then after herself, and she started self-healing, and then had a situation very similar to that with her father where her dad was going through I think he had been hurt at work, and she tapped into kind of what was going on with him.
That's right.
Yeah, and she remembers seeing an injury that he had on a boat, but her mother claims that it was a work injury. And
that's right, because he got injured at work, that's right, and didn't want to tell even his wife or her mom, right? That's right.
So Inna calls him up, I guess, and said something like, Dad, I sense that you got hurt on a boat. Was it work or a boat? And he goes, well, it was on a boat, but don't tell your mom, kind of thing. And she goes, but now I can read into you, so don't be lying, Wow. But she realized that I like how she said in this interview today, because when you hear of somebody like that with such an seemingly amazing gift, you don't think everybody can't have that. But she said today we all could have that. And I had 1,000 questions here that I wanted to ask her, but I knew our time was limited. But that was one of the questions, like, is it that we all have all of this stored inside of us and we just need to remember how to get back to those what's that inner source of knowledge that we've just shut out? And I mean, could you and I have that gift of being able to walk into a room and sense what's going on with someone so detailed, in fact, that you could say, hey, something's up with your gallbladder, or just have this organ awareness or disease or illness like meter?
I guess. I mean,
or emotional,
we're all energetic and spiritual beings, aren't we? I mean, why couldn't we? I guess we suppress it. I don't know. I mean, do you think that we all have that intuition and ability?
Well, here's the thing, and I wanted to share this with her. Maybe I will if we ever get to meet up with her in person or have her on again. But
that'd be so fun.
I had a dream. This is probably a year ago. I had some strange dream where in my dream I was going around basically rubbing my hands together, feeling the energy really surge up between them, and then laying my hands on top of people to heal them.
Kind of like Reiki a little bit?
Kind of, yeah, but more right on the skin. Mm-hmm. And that very next day after my dream, or a day or two after, I started having a flare-up of my liver gallbladder. And I remembered that dream. It was like I remembered a way to heal that seemed so natural in the dream. Mm-hmm. So I did that very thing. I rubbed my hands together to get them really, really, really warm, like you're, starting a fire, and then placed them right above those two organs, and it took away the pain.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
So I thought...
When was this again?
Oh, probably a year ago.
A year ago?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And so that's what I want, I thought that'd be interesting to ask, is it that I already knew that and that I just forgotten and I was remembering? And even if it took a dream to help me remember, is it that we have I'm starting to believe in my own personal life that everything is in us. It's just being quiet enough and listening to our intuition enough and following the guidance from our dreams and the things that we hear, those hits we get when we're driving along that doesn't sound like it's coming from your own head, and I'm starting to think so.
It's like people always make the comparison to, when they chisel out like Mount Rushmore or these great pieces of art out of stone. Mm-hmm. It's all like that picture is there. They just have to chisel away, the outer pieces in order to form the picture that's already there. I mean, that picture's already there. It's just a matter of, and so
interesting.
Yeah, it's really, it's so when you had that dream. How long had gone by since the time between that dream and the time you put your hands over your...
Probably it was like the next day or the day after. It was so time appropriate,
So when you had liver gallbladder, you obviously, right at that moment, you decided to do that. Did you remember your dream, or did you just do it by intuition? Then you all of a sudden realized, I had a dream about this.
That's a really interesting question. I don't remember. I feel like it was almost a natural response. Wow. Kind of like how you said, like if you get hurt we were talking about this earlier before the call with Inna, because we were talking about healing things, and we both said that if you kind of
often talk about
right,
it.
we talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
But if you stumble or you trip or you fall or you stub your toe, your natural reaction is to grab that part of your body, just to put a touch to it, whether it's to rub it or just to grab it or try to alleviate the pain before you run to get the ice. You gravitate toward that part of the body that you just hurt.
Yeah.
So there's a power of touch, like she was mentioning. But I think that's your body's innate way of dealing with the pain, and I feel like maybe that's what happened. I just felt like I needed to do something, and that's what I knew to do, and then probably remembered my dream, or it was probably also at the forefront of my mind.
Yeah.
Because I just dreamed it. But I thought, wow.
But still, that was a couple days before, maybe,
It was, and she talks in the book about, paying attention to those dreams, and gives a few stories of people she's met and worked with about, the power of these dreams. I mean, it's a pretty wild thing how it all is interconnected.
Yeah, I heard a story once, someone talking about this type of information. They were talking about how when you get injured and you break a bone or you fracture something or you pull something, and you put your hands over or on your knee, for example, if you tear your knee or something, your chances of healing and the rate at which you heal and how much you heal is directly impacted by you touching the injured area of your body. And so they've done apparently studies where people weren't allowed to touch their injuries and people were allowed to touch their injuries, and the rate of healing is significantly higher in the group that was able to touch their healing. So I mean, I realize there's probably a million different factors that could come into that. Someone may be healthier than the other, blah blah blah. There could be a million factors, but I believe that there is some sort of truth to that, where it all comes full circle.
Well, it's your body's innate way, and I mean, who could argue with the body? That book I highly recommend.
Which
The
one?
Secret of Life Wellness.
Secret of
And
Life
then I'm
Wellness.
halfway through the other one,
The body one.
What
is that one? That one is about
well, that one's interesting. That one is almost like taking Louise Hay's "You Can Heal Your Life" on steroids. Like,
really? Because I'm reading that one right now.
Yeah, and that was my first sort of introduction to this whole idea. And Inna takes it a step further, where she goes into each and every possible, so far that I've read, scenario that you could be experiencing, and how to delve in and be able to really, she gives you a process, not only of affirming, because Louise Hay's really good at the affirmations and things like that with your body, but Inna takes it in a way, I'd say 10 steps further, of how to actually deal with the problem, how to clear the energy, and how to add in the healing love. And she also goes into what each illness and disease basically is caused from.
Really?
What kind of emotions and what kind of traumas and what we're holding in these, stuffing in these organs to cause these imbalances. And
isn't that wild? That's the secret language of your body.
It's amazing, and your body really does talk to you.
Yeah, really, really interesting stuff. I love this stuff because it's all energetic, and I suspect that you have to make sure you have a healthy diet, and do your best to do cleansing and take your zeolite and do your colonics and all that kind of stuff. But if you don't ever get to this level of healing and living your life, I think you're missing a whole ton.
You know what's cool about Inna, though? I really do feel like she's a real journeyer. She's not saying she has all the answers, and that she's encouraging everyone, but she's on the journey too. And I loved how vulnerable she was, sharing that story about being with the colonic lady. And she broke down. She had a moment where she's like, I just need to be honest too, and it really resonated with her. And I love her realness. She's so real, and yet she's such a healer. And I think that combination is just really, really rare. And I don't get a lot of ego with her at all, and that's where I feel like she's just such a beautiful person to connect with, and I'm so honored that we were able to speak with her, that she was able to spend all that time with us.
Yeah, maybe we can hang out in person one day.
Oh, I'd love that. Yeah, that'd be a dream. I would love that.
Fun, wouldn't it? Go to Melbourne and check it out.
Or she could cruise to California, and
I know, right?
We could treat her to a green juice
all the way around the world. She's going to be in Japan. Pretty cool stuff. All right, so we got to wrap it up. It's episode 288, and this is Tuesday, July 15th, 2014. And we appreciate all you guys being on the show. If you guys are interested in any of the products that we mentioned on the show, the laser, the BioAid superfood that we take every day, the Qigong, the raw chef stuff, make sure to check those out. We'll put links to all that stuff, as well as all of the books from Inna that we talked about, The Secret Language of the Body. We'll put all of that on extremehealthradio.com extremehlearning.com/288. And if you guys would like to support us, we accept gratefully donations. We're so humbled that you guys would want to send donations, so we appreciate that. And we also have a store where you guys can purchase like the Rebounder, the Sauna, Vitamix blenders, all kinds of really great stuff through our store. So we appreciate all your support. It's just really, really great. So thank you so much for being on this episode. And it's time to go do some stuff, right?
It sure is. We'll do some stuff.
We'll go do some stuff. So thanks, everybody. We appreciate it so much, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Hey, everybody. This is Josie, Justin's mum. Don't tell him, but I know he would absolutely be really happy if you would sign up to his free weekly newsletter. And don't forget to share this with all your friends. This is the buzzing bumblebee signing off.
That's so good.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you for listening to this episode.
It's time to go for now, but our mission does not end with this show.
Justin and Kate will be back with another interview packed full of ideas, discoveries, and unique ways to regain your health.
Head on over to extremehealthradio.com/subscribe and instantly download our free gift too that contains cutting-edge strategies to start making healthy lifestyle changes today.
No material on this blog is intended to suggest that you should not seek professional medical care. Always work with qualified medical professionals, even if you educate yourself in the field of live food, nutrition, and alternative medicine. I'm not a doctor, nor am I offering readers medical advice of any kind. None of the information offered here should be interpreted as a diagnosis of any disease, nor an attempt to treat or prevent any disease or condition.